got ripped out of our world on a school trip, dropped into somebody else's war, and told to become heroes. My girlfriend left me the second my power looked weak. My best friend helped cripple me before they tossed me into a monster pit to die. What none of them understood was that the trash ability they laughed at was the one thing in that whole cursed world that could turn me into a nightmare. My name's Zeke Mercer, and before the world cracked open, I was just an honor roll kid on a bus full of classmates who thought life was still normal. We were halfway across a suspension bridge on some stupid field trip when the sky went blood red and something huge blotted out the sun. I don't mean a storm. I mean a living thing, too big to make sense, drifting over the bridge like God had sent down a parasite the size of a building. The bus jerked hard. Windows blew inward. Somebody screamed. Then everything vanished. When I came to, I was lying in white stone ruins under a sky that looked too sharp, too bright, too fake. My whole class was scattered around me, crying, throwing up, shouting names. Then a woman appeared in the middle of us like she'd been rendered into existence. Tall, blonde, beautiful in the coldest way possible. She said her name was Seraphine Vale, High Arbiter of the Chosen Order. Said the world we'd landed in was being overrun by anomalies. Said humanity here was losing. Said we'd been summoned as champions to kill the thing behind it all. Help save this world, maybe we'd earn the right to go home. Fail, and we'd die here with everybody else. One idiot from my class started mouthing off about lawyers and his dad. Seraphine lifted one finger and burned him to ash where he stood. Then she smiled and told the rest of us to line up for awakening. That was when I understood this wasn't a fantasy adventure. It was a hostage situation with magic. Their awakening ritual wasn't some glowing crystal bullshit. It was a black iron mask with a face carved into it, hanging from chains over an altar. One by one, it dropped onto each student's head and spat out their talent. People started pulling decent ranks. C-tier earth armor, B-tier regeneration, A-tier gravity pull. Then the real monsters started appearing. My girlfriend, Emma, got A-rank Ember Veil, which let her absorb fire and redirect it. She nearly cried from happiness. My best friend, Caleb Hart, got S-rank Bloodforge. That power was disgusting. It hardened his blood into weapons, boosted his speed, and let him fight like his veins were full of sharpened metal. The whole chamber lit up red when he awakened it. The priests started bowing. Seraphine actually looked impressed. And Caleb? He looked at me like he was already standing on a different floor than the rest of us. That stung more than I expected. We'd been boys since middle school. I'd pulled him out of one bad situation after another growing up. And the second that power touched him, I could feel him sliding away from me. Then it was my turn. I stepped up, heart pounding, still stupid enough to think maybe I'd get something good too. The iron mask dropped over my face. For a second, nothing happened. Then the thing laughed. Not metaphorically. It actually laughed. The voice boomed through the chamber and announced that I'd awakened the lowest ranked trash talent it had seen in decades. No mouth. Everybody burst out laughing. Seraphine didn't even hide her disgust. She said my gift was so worthless I should have died on the bus and saved everyone the inconvenience. I asked what the hell No Mouth even did. The mask said, unknown, unstable, improperly classified, worthless in practical combat. That was it. No big explanation. No cool effect. Just a weird name and a room full of people looking at me like I'd shat myself in church. Emma took one look at me, one look at Caleb glowing like a red war god, and I watched every last bit of warmth leave her face. The break happened fast after that. Emma didn't even try to ease into it. She just drifted toward Caleb like gravity had changed. 1 minute she was clutching my arm. The next she was tucked against his side like she'd already updated her future. I begged Caleb to say something. Anything. Remind him who I was. He looked me dead in the eye and called me dead weight. That hurt worse than Emma, because I expected selfishness from her. I didn't expect betrayal from him. Not that fast. Not that clean. Seraphine said someone as useless as me wasn't worth training. She wanted me thrown into the lower dungeon beneath the sanctuary and forgotten. I thought that was the worst of it. Then Caleb spoke up. He said if they just tossed me down there intact, I might get lucky. Might survive somehow. Might crawl back out later with a grudge. Better to make sure I couldn't climb. Seraphine liked that idea, so they crippled me first. Caleb forged a blade from his own blood and drove it through my knee. Then my shoulder. Then my ribs when I screamed at him. Emma watched with her hand over her mouth, not horrified, just pale in that weak little, thank God it's not me way. Then they dumped me into the pit. I hit stone so hard I tasted blood and dirt together. Somewhere above me, I heard Caleb laugh and Emma tell him he'd done the right thing. That was the moment something in me stopped caring whether I ever got home. I just wanted them dead. The dungeon was supposed to kill me. That was the whole point. It was a feeding trench beneath the sanctuary, crammed with half-starved beasts' old bones, and the kind of black damp that gets into your lungs and makes you wonder if the darkness itself is alive. Every monster in that place should have been able to tear me apart. Instead, the second the first one lunged at me, my worthless talent woke up. A black prompt flashed in front of my eyes. Null mouth detected lethal threat. Emergency privilege granted. One devour available. I didn't know what that meant, and I was too busy bleeding to ask. So when the wolf thing jumped at me, I just reached out with every ounce of blind hatred in my body and screamed for it to die. Its entire head caved inward like something invisible bit a chunk out of reality itself. The beast dropped dead instantly. Another prompt appeared. Devour successful. Trade available for consumption. That was when I understood. Null mouth didn't have a flashy combat trick because it wasn't a normal skill. It ate other skills. Not copied. Not borrowed. Ate. I put my hand on the dead creature and something cold rushed through my chest. My shattered knee snapped straight. My shoulder locked back into place. New strength flooded my limbs like my body had just been reminded it wasn't done yet. First devoured trait, Dread Pulse. It projected raw predator fear. Freeze weaker targets. Break their rhythm. Crack their nerves. A useless trash talent, my ass. That dungeon wasn't a grave anymore. It was a buffet. I spent months down there becoming something mean. Not heroic. Not noble. Mean. Every beast I killed gave me something. Claws. Armor. Night vision. Venom resistance. Enhanced hearing. Bone density. Burst speed. Paralysis shriek. Acid spit. Shadow hide. The dungeon kept trying to kill me, and every failed attempt just turned me into a worse problem. Null mouth evolved too. The more I devoured, the more I understood it. It didn't just consume traits. It adapted them, refined them, stacked them, sometimes combined them into nastier versions. Some creatures had garbage gifts. Some had gold. I learned to hunt smart, learned to bait, learned to conserve strength, learned how to survive without trusting a single living thing. Then I found Mara. She was webbed up in a nest chamber 3 levels below where most prisoners died. Not a classmate, native to that world. Pale, filthy mean-eyed, and still somehow dangerous looking even tied up like spider food. She laughed when she saw me trying to cut her free with a chipped bone shard. You're level trash, she said. How are you still alive? I laughed right back at her. Spite, I said, and a really bad attitude. Mara had been thrown down there for stealing relics from the Chosen Order. Turns out Seraphine's holy little warrior factory had a side business. Lie to outsiders, harvest strong awakeners, toss the failures into the pit, and use the survivors as weapons until they broke. Mara taught me the things nobody had bothered to tell the heroes. The anomalies weren't random. Seraphine's people were hiding the truth. And the dungeon beneath us was less prison than grinder. They were feeding it people, letting monsters mutate, then harvesting whatever lived long enough to become useful. Which meant Caleb and Emma weren't being trained to save the world. They were being fattened up. By the time I crawled back out, I wasn't the same person they'd thrown in. I didn't even look the same. Too lean. Too scarred. Too still. The The kind of still that makes people nervous because it doesn't feel human anymore. Mara came with me. She had her own reasons for wanting the order burned down, and by then I trusted her more than I'd ever trusted half the people from my old life. Getting back into the sanctuary was easier than it should have been. Nobody expects the dead to come home ugly. The place was bigger than I remembered, full of banners, blood sigils, and polished marble, trying to pretend the entire foundation wasn't built on mutilated lies. I watched from the shadows long enough to learn what had changed. Emma had become one of Seraphine's favorites. Fire had made her beautiful in that cruel, theatrical way power sometimes does. Caleb had become their poster boy, dripping blood-forged arrogance and strutting around like he'd conquered the world instead of kneeling for it. And the best part, neither one of them saw the trap yet. That almost ruined my plans. Almost made me pity them. Then I remembered my knee exploding under Caleb's blade. Pity died again. I waited until the ceremony. Big room. Whole class there. Native recruits too. Seraphine on her throne. Caleb being announced as the future commander of the Northern Front. Emma smiling at him like she'd been born to kneel to whoever looked strongest. Then I stepped out. The whole chamber went dead. Emma's face emptied out first. Caleb's came right after, all the color draining from him when he realized the thing he buried wasn't dead after all. I didn't scream. Didn't monologue. Didn't give them some cheesy revenge speech. I just looked at Caleb and said, "You should have cut my head off." Then I moved. People say revenge feels good. It doesn't. It feels hot, fast, ugly. Like finally vomiting poison you've been choking on so long you forgot what clean breathing felt like. Caleb came at me first, blood blades screaming out of his arms like he thought rank still mattered down there in the dirt. I devoured his first strike mid-swing. Just bit straight through the structure of it with null mouth and left him staring at his own power unraveling in the air. Then I hit him with Dreadpulse. His body froze for half a heartbeat. That was all I needed. I shattered both his arms, drove him into the floor, and ate Bloodforge while he was still conscious enough to know what was happening. Emma tried to burn me alive. I ate that too. Her fire folded inward, dimmed to sparks, then vanished into my chest like it had never belonged to her. She dropped to her knees sobbing, finally remembering I existed only after she lost the thing that made her feel safe. Too late. Seraphine was harder. Way harder. That bitch had been feeding on stolen gifts for years. She wasn't just strong. She was stitched together out of everybody else's pain. But by then I was the same kind of monster, just honest about it. Everything she built in secret, I built in the dark with claw marks all over it. The fight tore the sanctuary apart. Blood, fire, stone, screaming. The whole holy place came down around us like it was ashamed of itself. And in the end, I did the one thing she never thought a worthless talent could do. I devoured her whole damn core. Not just her powers, her rank, her false divinity, her right to ever stand over anybody again. When it was done, there wasn't much left of the chosen order but rubble, smoke, and the sound of terrified survivors finally understanding they'd been livestock in ceremonial robes. Mara looked at me through all that ruin and asked what I was going to do now. Go home. Save this world. Build something better. I looked at Caleb gasping in the dust, Emma curled around herself crying. Seraphine's throne split in half, and the class that watched me get thrown away now too scared to say my name. Then I laughed. No, I said. First I make sure nobody ever builds this shit again. Moral. The world loves calling you useless right before it tries to use you up. And the people who throw you in the pit always think the dark will finish the job for them. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it sends something worse back up hungry. Thanks for listening on Hidden Thread Teller.